Welcome to ExplorinVictorian. I'm Josh Wilson. Today we've got something a little different for you. I'm at maple sugaring camp. In the 19th and early 20th century, a lot of families, farmers, neighbors would get together in the wintertime and they would all boil their maple sap together to get syrup. And this was sort of like a community type of event where people would come together and spend the day boiling their sap. So today I'm here with a bunch of guys that are boiling syrup, and we've got this wood stove here, and I'm going to be cooking a stew up on it for us. The recipe that I'm going to be cooking today is an Irish stew. This recipe appears in a lot of cookbooks from end of the 19th century, early 20th century. A lot of cookbooks, a lot of different chefs have their own take on it. Some call for lamb, some call for beef or veal, and then you add in vegetables. Some call for either potatoes or turnips. I'm cooking out of Fannie Farmer's cookbook today from 1898, and she calls for both potatoes and turnips. So what I'm going to do first is cube up my beef. I'm going to sear it on all sides, and then I'm just going to slow simmer it for about an hour. I'm going to cut up my vegetables, and after that hour, then I'll put the vegetables in and let them cook until they're done. I'm going to add the potatoes in last because potatoes don't take a whole long time to cook. And when the potatoes are starting to go in and starting to cook and get done, then I'm going to be adding dumplings in on this. I've got a 3-pound beef chuck roast here, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut this up into about 1-inch cubes, and then we're going to fry that in some bacon fat from breakfast this morning. We got our fire going in our firebox here. Our stew pot is on the stove. It's got our bacon grease in it. And once it heats up, we're going to go ahead and dump our beef in and start frying it up. You can hear our beef frying. We've got a good color on that. So I'm going to go ahead and add some salt. And Fannie Farmer doesn't mention it, but I've got some rosemary and some sage. I got these containers from Vico Outfitters, Sarge Vining. They're really cool containers, so I went ahead and put some herbs in them and brought them out, and we're going to put those in our stew and cover it with water, and we're going to let it simmer for about an hour. And I've got a handful of flour that I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in. It's going to soak up some of that bacon grease and thicken this up and make it like a gravy for our stew. So I'm just going to stir that flour in. Get that all good and coated. You can see it's thickening up, turn into gravy. And then I'm going to put our water in this and just let it simmer for about an hour. We're not going to put a whole lot of water. We're just going to cover our beef and give it a good stir. But we're going to keep this water hot on the stove in case this cooks down and we need to add more. So just going to set this back to the back. Cover it and let it simmer. Two large onions. I lost track of how many carrots I cut up. It's about the same amount as the turnips. This is definitely more than Fannie Farmer called for in her recipe, but we're going to be feeding a lot of people today, so we're just going to go ahead and dump all of that in. I'm going to give this a stir. So our stew has been going about a half hour. Our turnips are about half cooked. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just put in the potatoes. So to make our dumplings, I've put in 4 cups of flour, and I've got some lard about the size of an egg. This is something you often see in old cookbooks. They'll say to use a piece of lard or a piece of butter about the size of an egg to about 3 cups of flour. So I've made mine just a little bit bigger than an egg. And I just scoop that out with my hands. And I just want to start incorporating this. And I want to get this mixed into the flour until the flour kind of has like a sandy appearance. So I've kind of got all of my lard mixed in until it looks like sand. And now I'm just going to pour in some milk. We'll do about half a can first. And then mix this around until it becomes a dough. And keep adding until we get all this stuff here on the bottom mixed into our dough. So our vegetables are mostly cooked, and I've gone ahead and taken a lump of dough, a little smaller than a walnut, and just kind of smush it together. You want your water to be at a a fast simmer, which we've got going on. So I'm just going to roll that out and drop it in, and it's going to sink, but then it'll float about the time that it gets cooked. And I'm going to take this entire ball of dough, roll it out, and put it in our stew. So we've got our stew boiled up and plated up. We got our maple syrup is almost done boiling. Nathan's been working on that along with a bunch of these other fine folks around here. And it's dinner time, so let's try our stew. Oh man, steam.
Yeah, careful, don't stand right in the steam.
Yeah, it smells amazing. The stew is excellent.
It's good, it's hearty, it's warm. It's just what's needed on a cold day like this. It's getting colder as the day goes on.
Oh yeah, that sun's starting to go down.
It was getting cold before then. It was cold at noon.
Yeah.
I've been cold all day. This is great.
So I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give us a like and a subscribe. Be sure and check out Nathan's channel, 20th Century Adventures. And we'll see you next time.
Subscribe to this guy.